Boo! Oh, I should have also pooped beforehand, but I did not, so.
We can always take a mid-pod little break if you start turtle heading. Something fierce.
A little prairie dogging, you know?
See if we're getting 6 more weeks of summer.
Oh!
From Puxatawny poop over there.
From Puxatawny. Puxatawny. Oh, shit.
Nice. That's even better.
Oh,
thank you.
Goodness.
I'm glad I had you here to workshop that joke out.
I feel just like a purple Pikmin.
We're jumping right into the Console Crusade podcast. I'm EJ Olson. You are Nick Durheim. I'm getting this backwards. We haven't talked in like 2 weeks.
Probably about that, yeah.
Like, I feel like we missed so much, man. Sonic and weird E3 leaks and
the Mario Maker Direct.
Yes, the Mario Maker and Pokemon. We're not talking about any of that today because it's old news and we've got E3 to look forward to. So
it's true.
We'll come back around on all that stuff. We will, I promise. Listen, you're going to guide me through E3 because I'm not much for in the way of speculation when it comes to E3. E3 is just one of those things I let it just wash over me like a sweet, warm embrace of death herself. So I just let it happen. But you're going to toss me some things. I'm going to give you some hot reacts. I don't know what. I really don't know what's been announced, what's been leaked, what's been speculated. I don't know anything.
There's been plenty of it, but at the same time, I haven't really been focusing too much on that stuff either-ish. I don't know. It's hard for me to quantify that kind of stuff. If I had been a little bit more diligent, I would have actually gone through and made some notes about what was talked about and announced last year. So we could do maybe we could do that for our post E3 sort of wrap up. We can talk about the progress that these shows have made or these lack of shows have made in some cases. So E3 in general, we've got our big third parties. We got EA, Bethesda, Square-Enix, and Ubisoft. And then, the first parties got Microsoft and Nintendo. Obviously, Sony is skipping this year. That didn't stop them from dropping a Death Stranding trailer last week. That was like 9 minutes long. But hey, it's got a release date. It's coming out this year. Nobody was expecting that. Yeah, seriously. I mean, Kojima started that studio in like 2016 and didn't have an engine until 2017. So he worked fast, or it's a lot smaller of a game than people were expecting.
This game's gonna fucking suck, Nick.
I'm sure it's gonna be fine. I'm sure it's gonna be everything that people want from that game.
Like 9 weirdos are gonna like it, but the games industry at large is gonna be like, well, that's Kojima for you.
I foresee a pretty, I don't know how diverse of a Metacritic it'll have, but it'll probably be like mid 80s. I would guess. It'll probably sell. It won't sell like gangbusters because none of Sony's properties really sell as much as like say Nintendo's does. But it'll probably sell like 3-4 million, if I had to guess.
Speaking of Nintendo, before we dive into E3, okay, I need to run something past you. I need to bounce this off you, okay? I'm looking.
Bounce away, baby. Do it.
I'm seeking counsel. All right, and you are my shrink baby.
Shrink baby. Speaking of Kojima.
My little brother got me a $20 eShop card.
Ooh.
Okay. Nick, I've been staring at this thing, looking for motivation to dig my Switch out. Like this weekend I had a little bit of free time and I thought maybe I'll play my Switch. I didn't. But this tempted me. I need 3 games. $20 gift card. What can I buy? What should I buy tonight? Give me some options. Run me through this. And if you're listening, either agree or disagree with Nick, send us some feedback at feedback@consolecrusade.com. Hit us on Twitter. I'm at eJiggle. He's at PressTillDeath. If there's just some little indie, some hidden gem that I'm missing that we haven't talked about, hit me up, let me know. But what do you think, Nick?
Catching me very off guard, or else I would have my Switch to consult. But I feel like most of the really good sub $20 games you already have. And I don't know if you've really dedicated much time to play them or you played them and bounced off them. Like immediately I jumped to like Hollow Knight as a $15 game with so much content and just a really rewarding gameplay experience. And it's way bigger and better than any $15 game has any right to be. And I've just been geeking out about Hollow Knight. I started it up again. I put about 20 hours into it before I got to a point where I was close enough to the end where I was like, okay, this is like if I wanted to keep playing, I would go back to my old save file and go through the DLC content that they've added. But that's a great game. I don't think that you were too smitten with it. I think you got to like the first boss fight, you got frustrated or something. But that's totally fine. I mean, it's obviously not every game is for every person. It breaks my heart though, because I fucking love that game so goddamn much. Celeste is a $20 game, I believe. And that came out early last year, ended up getting some Game of the Year nominations and won a bunch of Game of the Year stuff.
That is on my wish list. Did the original Risk of Rain come to Switch?
Yes, it did. I believe that's $15. I love it, and I've played between 100 and 200 hours on PC. I was actually thinking about getting it on Switch, though, just because on PC it's incredibly difficult to actually do multiplayer with people because it's like peer-to-peer, and you have to set up port forwarding and do all this like bullshit, and it never works. Unless you get like a third-party program, like you have to get some thing that spoofs your ISP so that it all works out, but it's annoying. So I was thinking about actually getting it for Switch. I don't know if it has all the options that the PC version does, where you can, if you're running at 1080p, you can actually make it pixel perfect so that you're zoomed out super far, which you don't really need to do if you're sort of in the early stages. But once you get further along and everything's just popping off like crazy, then it makes it nice to be able to see where your enemies are from further away.
Okay. I got to say, just as an aside, I came over to your place last week and you were playing Risk of Rain 2, and I was shocked that it's a completely different style of game in a lot of ways. But that's what got me thinking about it.
Yeah, that game's in early access, but that's also a really good game. I feel like it'll probably be coming to consoles when it actually launches. I believe it's slated to come out next year, but they've been doing some patches and rolling out some new characters. I think their first like big content drop is either this month or next month, which is cool. I've played some games in early access. Like I played Dead Cells in early access, and it was kind of cool to see it evolve from where they initially, quote unquote, launched it to the version 1.0, where they deemed it playable and finished.
God damn, what a game.
Yeah, and even games like that got a lot of patches afterwards, and I think it just had a new DLC drop maybe a month ago, which I haven't gone back to play it because Dead Cells I liked, but it didn't really grip me as hard as it gripped you.
I don't know why it got me, dude, by the freaking balls, and I couldn't stop playing.
Yeah, the roguelite like kind of loop is really satisfying if the gameplay holds it up. So stuff like Rogue Legacy is really awesome, but there's a lot of those that I can't get into. I know you got into Binding of Isaac, but I just can't get into the twin stick shooter kind of vibe. All those games that I mentioned, I believe, are sub 20 on Switch, but you own almost all of them.
Is Hyperlight Drifter on the Switch yet?
Yes, I think that's 25.
Well, I might have some leftover, cash from a prior gift card sitting in the old eShop account, so I might look at that. I know there's some games that I have a ton of games on my wish list, but last time I had a ton of games on my wish list, I bought a bunch for Christmas and I just haven't touched any of them. I mean, I literally can't believe it's fucking June. It's been 6 months. The year's half over. What the fuck?
Yeah, dude, time flew fast.
It's
if you want something to, I don't know if this would really grip you. It scratched a good itch for me, but a game called Gato Roboto came out last week, which was shown at a Nindies showcase. I don't know when, maybe earlier this year or like late last year, but I've been keeping my eye on it for a little bit. But it's only black and white pixels, so sort of looks like Downwell or what was the other one? Minute. But you are playing as a cat in a mech suit. And it's just a short little Metroidvania. Like I got to the final boss in about 3 hours, and it's like $8. So it was just really cool, like awesome, like soundtrack and everything too. Really like fun. Not too difficult. Some of the bosses were a little bit challenging, but once you kind of figured out the loop, then you can get through it pretty simply.
Gotcha. I will keep that in mind.
There's also SteamWorld Quest came out pretty recently. That's like a side-scrolling RPG with like card-based kind of combat, but not like too in-depth. It's not like you're playing Hearthstone to do your battles or anything. It's just more like instead of having a list of spells that you choose from, you draw from a deck of cards for each character, and they've got interesting little combos between them. But it's from the SteamWorld guys, and all their games have been really fantastic. Yeah. So that might be something worth checking out. Maybe watch a YouTube video, see if that's something that would interest you.
Maybe I'll save it because Nintendo is inevitably going to drop something at E3 that will be available right after the Direct,
Yeah, pretty likely there's going to be a shadow drop for some indie title that people have been looking forward to.
So maybe I'll save it for a week, Nick. Maybe that's the play.
That is the play, honestly. And also there'll be E3 sales and stuff too. I know like last week there was a Devolver Digital sale, so like a lot of those kind of premier pixel art indie games that are way too violent for their own good, like Ape Out, was on sale.
Well, booyah. Booyah. I'll hold on to it. We'll see what happens. And we'll update y'all next week.
See what EJ buys and doesn't play.
Like I say, one thing let's just briefly touch on. I just want to give credit where credit is due before we dive into E3. Last week, Sunday, we all got together, the entire group chat, including Chris. We had the whole freaking group together. We played some Smash Bros. We played some Jackbox Party Pack.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a hoot. It was a fun couple of hours. And so, Chris, you're not listening. Fuck you. But it was great to see you. We had a great time. I want to do it again before you leave. And Lindsay was there. I feel so bad, man. She had to endure a lot of drunken nonsense from us heathens.
It was super funny, especially that I remember that game was called the Monster Dating one. That was pretty funny.
That was, I don't care what it was called, but there were some interesting conversations happening.
Yeah, it's basically Sexting Your Bros Simulator 2019.
The weirder ones I got, I was like, I don't know if I'd be more or less uncomfortable if it had come from your girlfriend. I'm like, okay, if Leaf sent this is fucking weird. So I hope it's not one of the dudes. But if this is my boy's girl, that's also fucking weird. Like, she's got a mouth on her.
She was down to play. It's all about tricking people, and that is like a game for that. So very fun, very entertaining little game. Surprising, because a lot of those games that just aren't like your general, Fibbage or Quiplash or Drawful, it seems like it's very, very hit or miss, and like more often than not, it's a miss.
Right. The staples are staples for a reason, but there's a lot of chaff you got to wade through.
Yes, definitely.
So, all right, kick me in the face with this E3. I don't have a document. I have no idea what you're going to say to me. We're just going in. You're going to throw it at me, and I'm going to probably be really boring. There'll be one thing that pisses me off. We'll see.
Sure.
You'll bring up Game of Thrones halfway through, and I'll have an aneurysm.
Well, I absolutely might. That is a perfect, possibility. Well, you know me, I like to go through and break things down by chronological order because it helps me keep things in order. So EA is starting off, it's not really part of E3, but they're doing their EA Play. And instead of doing, their weird, boring conference that they usually do, they're doing a day of streams, and it's all scheduled out. And they're starting, I believe, at 9:30 with Star Wars, starting with Star Wars, which is weird, and then doing their sports titles and Battlefield and The Sims. Like nothing new besides Star Wars this year, pretty much. And I wanted to ask you, what do you hope to see from Jedi Fallen Order? And what do you expect to see from Jedi Fallen Order? As you may know, this is Respawn, the fine purveyors of games such as Titanfall 2, and Apex Legends, X-Infinity Ward folks. I believe it's their first actual foray into a third-person action game. They're more well-known for first-person shooters. But Titanfall 2, you loved that single-player campaign.
Adored it.
And we know that this game doesn't have multiplayer at all. It is purely just a single-player campaign where you're a dude who survived Order 66, you were a Padawan, and now you're on the run, you're hiding.
Couple of things I want to see from it. I am very worried this is going to be like a 7-hour rush through the campaign. It's going to be like they're going to borrow some elements from the Force Unleashed games, and it's just going to be sort of a hodgepodge, and it's going to be short and just sort of, well, the sequel might be good kind of game, which is I hope doesn't happen, but it's kind of what I expect. But I really want to see, I want to see the Force Unleashed combat, but 2019, because the combat was really good in those games.
Was that the one where you could actually cut off limbs and stuff? I don't remember if
was
that a mod. I don't remember if there was a. I remember there was a Star Wars game where you played as a Jedi and you had a lightsaber and you had to cut off people's arms and stuff, cut off their head. But that was probably a mod,
Yeah, that doesn't sound. That sounds a little too for Force Unleashed. But
do you think this is going to be a T game?
Yeah. It's not going to be higher than that, but it's definitely going to be. You have a fucking laser sword cutting people up. Yeah, they have to. Just the violence alone. Stormtroopers.
Could it be an M-rated game?
I think that'd
Disney
be really
would
cool.
allow that.
But
that'd be really cool.
Why would a company do that? You have to really be in your niche to do that.
I feel like in this day and age, M-rated games don't really matter. I don't think the little letter in the bottom right corner of the box denotes whether a kid is getting that game. And I feel like a game that does that and it's more of the violence, it doesn't have to be like God of War violence, but like if you have like an implied head cut off, is that an M? Is that a T? I was just thinking about this the other day. From Endgame, there's a lot of like asses and shits thrown out. And was that movie a PG-13? Did everyone just bring their kids to it like completely regardless of the rating? That's something that I haven't really considered since I was, younger than a rating deemed allowed to play a game. And there was some pretty like hardcore violence, like considering.
Titanfall rated M?
Has to be. It's got guns and shooting.
No.
Halo's rated M. There's not really like too much visceral violence. I mean, the aliens bleed.
Okay, well, fuck me then. Maybe it doesn't matter. From a story perspective, I am hoping for something. It's kind of a cliche to say, but I want the Last of Us treatment. I really want something cinematic, and I don't want 20-minute cutscenes, but I want something cinematic and engaging, and I want characters that you're going to remember when you finish that story. Yeah. I don't want it to be just another generic romp through. We've had a million Star Wars games like that.
You don't want Rogue One?
You got me there because I loved Rogue One, so maybe I don't know what the fuck I want.
Yeah, I mean, I can't name you 3 characters from Rogue One.
Jyn Erso.
Who's that?
The lead.
Is that an alcohol?
Oh my God. I can name one person.
There you
got me. You got me.
I just saw that Forrest Whitaker was there and Donnie Yen and Alan Tudyk was the robot.
Alan Tudyk was... Oh, I don't remember that guy's name either. Okay, fuck me. You got me. What I really want out of this game, besides like the standards, I want really cool force powers. Like, you want to feel like a Jedi at the end of the day. You want to feel like you are this OP dude with fucking superpowers and a laser sword, because you are. But the thing that, if they can get that right, and they have a lot of background, right? They've got a lot to draw on. They should be able to get that right. But what I think could really, really be awesome is taking what they did in Titanfall with the mechs and translate that to some of the giant machines in Star Wars, from the AT-ATs to the AT-STs to some of the land-based like ships. I think there's a lot of room to like really hang your hat on that and say, all right, we're going to do something that's just so visceral, and the energy, and you really feel like not just like a top-down, like boring, slow playing Battlefront, just like the vehicle combat is so fucking lukewarm. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I wonder about that. I honestly do not think that there's going to be any playable parts where you're not just a dude running around. I think a lot of what you're going to be doing is going to be upgrading your character so that you're doing like cool wall runs and shit. Because obviously, talk about Titanfall devs. But yeah, I don't see what's the point of being a Jedi if you're walking around in a mech? And what mech in Star Wars is like quick? And I don't think like space, like you're not going to be moving around, you're not going to be like piloting a spaceship or anything. That's all going to be like you hop into a spaceship to open up a menu to go to a different planet, if there is any interplanetary travel. And also, how is that going to be set up? Is it just going to be the story leads you from one planet to another, or is there going to be like backtracking? Is there going to be sort of exploration elements to it? How much between Uncharted and God of War is this? So I would really like it to be God of War, where you have like a linear story, but you've got a lot of like cool like places to poke around in and upgrade trees to develop and sort of grow your character the way you want it to, and sort of end up in the same final place, because that's how the skill trees work. But like I want to feel like I'm more powerful at the end of the game than when I'm at the beginning of the game.
Absolutely. God of War was interesting because it was very linear, but it gave you a lot of leeway to poke around, but it wasn't Horizon Zero Dawn, Yeah, I think that's a good comp. Whereas something like Horizon's a true open world. You can go fucking anywhere. There's a ton to do.
Yeah, I swear to God, if this Star Wars game has crafting, I'm going to lose my mind and not want it.
Horizon did crafting really well. It wasn't too cumbersome. You didn't feel like, if I don't craft, I'm screwed. And if you do the bare minimum, it's just a couple of hotkeys, and it's still incentivized collecting things, and it made it feel worth it. But it wasn't like Zelda. It wasn't this obtuse thing where you're like, why do I even have to do this? This is fucking stupid. I shouldn't have to do this.
Some of the crafting in Zelda was bad, but some of it was good because it made you interact with the world in an interesting way, like the way you actually held your food before you dropped it into a pot. Like, I got kind of old after a while, but that was like so endearing at the beginning.
I would rather streamline something than have a moment of like you said, that was endearing. That was fun, but
that's such an extremely Japanese sort of ethos that I do not believe that's going to be. You're not going to be,
Sure.
shooting womp rats in fucking Star Wars Fallen.
You're gonna be
Jedi
milking
Fallen Order.
fucking weird walruses for their blue teat milk or their green teat milk.
That'd be super tight.
Yeah, I would. This would be so cool if Respawn pulls a Horizon Zero Dawn, and I don't think that's possible given the timeline and what we've seen. But kind of what. Oh my God, the name is on the tip of my tongue. The studio that did Horizon and the
Gorilla?
yeah, Gorilla, and they did the not the fucking Kill Switch games. What am I thinking? Kill
Killzone?
Switch Engage, dude. Killzone. They did a complete 180 and they made something like legitimately awesome. So maybe this could be it. Maybe this is just they're gonna come out and blow us away, and this is gonna be my most anticipated game. Or even if they can do like I love the Spider-Man game, but that game was only just fine. It wasn't. It was just fine, and what it did well. I'm like, if they can just do that with Star Wars, that'll be a runaway success.
Right.
So that's what I want from Star Wars.
I have pretty similar. Well, I don't know. My expectations are pretty metered because we haven't seen any of it. I expect to see gameplay. I expect to see another little story trailer. Maybe some cool reveal will be saved for the Microsoft press conference a couple days later. But I don't know. I don't have like crazy expectations because we haven't seen enough for me to have any expectations. But I do have one hope. We might even call it a new hope.
No.
No, that was just a dumb joke. I just want a cool, super cool little like reveal at the end of the trailer would be, you got your main character, whatever his name is, dude from Gotham, walking up and he gets like some droid shows up and he gets a hologram projection and it's Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan to be your sort of guiding force to like teach you these Jedi abilities, and that's how you upgrade your character throughout the game.
That would be really cool.
That would be super fucking cool.
Nick.
People would lose their minds. People have been asking for Ewan McGregor back as Obi-Wan for years.
See, I feel like we're going to get the cliche like Darth Vader reveal. It's like, all right, I've seen this before. I feel like that's what we're going to get. It's going to be some tropey as far as this sort of thing goes. But Ewan McGregor, you give me all Broby one, I'll be pretty happy. I'll be pretty happy.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. That's just the one thing that I've like thought about, and I'm just like, man, that would be awesome. Okay, moving on from Star Wars. I just wanted to have a quick mention that Anthem is not going to be at EA's list of games that are being streamed.
Good. What a disaster.
Yeah, it was a bit of a disaster. It's interesting. They're doing like a stream on their own, like a developer stream. It seems like they're in retaining mode as opposed to expansion mode, which I think is smart for a game like that. But yeah, don't expect to see any Iron Men flying around on Saturday. Save that for another day. All right, next up we have Microsoft on Sunday. I just wanted to point out a tweet that Phil Spencer, head of Xbox Studios, just like Microsoft gaming in general, like he's high up. He said, "We have 14 Xbox Game Studios games in the show this year, more first-party games than we've ever had in a show."
Wow.
14. And he says that they're Xbox Game Studios games. That's not necessarily their publishing because, as you know, they purchased a lot of studios, and some of them have prior arrangements with other publishers. Like Obsidian has shown Outer Worlds, which was that Fallout in space game pretty much that was shown at last year's Game Awards. So that'll probably be there. We also know that In Exile is working on Wasteland 3, which is if you're one of those nerds, you're super into that. We also know 343 is doing Halo Infinite. Coalition's working on Gears 5 and that weird Gears pop game maybe. Mojang will always show more Minecraft. They just announced that Minecraft Worlds game that's like an AR sort of Pokemon Go-esque mobile experience where you actually build stuff on your phone, then you can go and place it on buildings and stuff in the outside times. And then past that, we don't know what their other studios are really doing, except for maybe Rare. Rare's working on Battletoads that they showed that little teaser last year. And then Compulsion, which they bought last year. They did the We Happy Few, which looked way cooler than it actually was. Ninja Theory hasn't put out a game in 2 years, so they might be primed and ready to go with a new project. The initiative was that, why do they name these studios so fucking dumb. The coalition, the initiative. Like, I've commented on that before, but it's so bad.
Yeah.
They just made that studio last year, so they're not going to show anything. Turn 10 just put out Forza last year, and then Playground Games, which have been working on the Forza Horizon series, which is like their more arcadey kind of spin-off racing game, is rumored to be working on the next Fable. It's been a long time since there's been a Fable.
Gotcha. Fable, man, that franchise tried and failed to try and...
Yeah, God, what was that guy's name? We've joked about him before.
Peter Molyneux?
Peter Molyneux. Overpromise, underdeliver. Peter Molyneux. And it's weird. He had that weird mobile game where it was like bunches of people had to sign in to like unlock a cube to get the secret to life. He's such a weird guy. Total like artiste motherfucker, you know?
An auteur. A wannabe auteur.
I mean, that's a bit dismissive. Every auteur is a wannabe auteur.
That's a bit dismissive. Fuck those guys.
Whatever. You're an artist. You work with them.
I suck though, and I know it. Like, I'm not trying to be, I'm just trying to make my nut, dude.
Gotta fake it till you make it. So what does this do for you? The first party lineup, how does it feel to you? I know it doesn't necessarily have to speak to you in all these ways, but how do you feel about it in general? The diversity of it? Is it compelling to any number of people? Is it enough? We've talked about for years that, you know, Xbox doesn't have the first party lineup that Sony and Nintendo have, but they're working toward that. And I think that is really commendable.
It's funny because we have talked about this, and I always shit on them %. You know, I say, who gives a fuck? All their games are available on a PC. Why would you want to buy an Xbox when you can buy a fucking PlayStation? The value proposition is...
You're already in their ecosystem.
That's what I'm saying, is I don't need a fucking Xbox. You know, I feel like they should focus on consoles and make good console games and make that their, you know... But again, Microsoft is such a broad... They do so much, but... Yeah, it's funny. We sit here saying, "Oh, they're trying." They just canceled a giant fucking game last year. Scalebound got thrown down the shitter. It was like, I know you've said, "Oh, what's his face? Phil Spencer's come in. He's trying to make strides," and they fucking cancel like the one big exclusive that's not Halo or Gears of War, which is like, does anyone give a fuck about either of those games in the current year? No. It's gonna sell a couple of units to the couple of douchebags who didn't switch from Xbox One. Because they're just fucking knuckle draggers who are like, "Oh, Xbox for life." You know, it's those kind of guys. Come on, let's be honest. And so listen, I hope, just for the sake of the other two console manufacturers, that they can come in and step up the competition, because that'll force Sony, who has shown that they can and will rest on their laurels a little bit. This will hopefully force them to have to stick to their guns and really push forward and not have the drop off that we see with every freaking company going into a new generation. Every company, Xbox 360 completely fails the Xbox One because they got cocky. PS2, biggest console ever, completely failed the PS3. Although they made it up and brought parity between the two systems. Nintendo with the Wii. It's like the hubris of these manufacturers gets in their own fucking way, and they're their own worst enemies. So I hope, for the industry's sake, they are making those strides. Good for them. Am I moved by any of this shit? Hell no. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying with Xbox needing to have more compelling hardware, but I feel like a lot of their sales points have been very similar in every generation versus the PS3. They really caught Sony off guard with how hard they went into like online services with the 360, and that was their huge boon because that was the perfect time and the perfect place for that, and they got a year head start. It was really just a culmination of efforts to make the 360 such a compelling piece of hardware. And obviously Xbox One had huge problems at the start with just poor marketing, and they really just dropped the ball super hard at that E3, and it was just a laughing stock, and that made it really hard for people to actually want to get it. I don't think they're going to have that problem with their next piece of hardware, and it more will just depend on price point, I guess, because they're both going to be backwards compatible. That's going to be a huge benefit, honestly, for PS4 into PS5, is because people are going to be like, well, I already have all these PS4 games. Why would I want to ditch my library to go to, Xbox 2? But I don't know. As long as they're both like the same price, and then that just leads it to the games. And people being like, yo, I want to play Last of Us 2 because I love Last of Us 1. And that sold like gangbusters. And Xbox has a long and slow climb to get to the point where they have compelling first parties that aren't just, franchises, because obviously franchises are super easy to iterate upon. Look at Nintendo. But Sony's getting to that point where they can just lean on their franchises and rest on their laurels, like you said. But they're still invigorating with new IP like Horizon. Like you're obviously going to see a Horizon 2. But is Xbox going to be able to show something that is like, wow, that's like the Horizon for Microsoft? And maybe we'll see that at E3. That could definitely, that's a possibility.
It's funny that you brought up like, why the 360 did as well as it did. And it was the right time and place for that online ecosystem to, flourish. And Microsoft never really figured out that, because it was never about the games for them. They had such a limited number of exclusive games. It really was just the ecosystem, and that made the multi-plat games way more compelling. And they just never kind of figured that out, though. Once Sony was like, oh, we've got to figure our own ecosystem out, and there was parity there, it just...
And not to mention just the hardware differences between the PS3 and the 360 were so much different than the PS4 and Xbox One. Sure, the base PS4 is a little bit stronger than the Xbox One S. Sure, the Xbox One X is a little bit more stronger than the PS4 Pro, but it's still, x86. Whereas before you're working with PowerPC versus Cell, which is like a weird bastard child between Intel and Microsoft and like IBM. It was weird bullshit. But now that these consoles are more just like high-end PCs or, mid to high-end PCs, I feel like the third-party support is just sort of like a given. Like, if you're going to see a exclusive, it's because they signed a deal with one of the platforms. And I don't know. I know that Sony still is paying Activision for Call of Duty for like, they get their DLCs and like their map packs and stuff a week early. But what does that mean now that Call of Duty is supposed to be cross-play between PS4, PC, and Xbox? Like this year's Call of Duty. So that wall is being torn down, and I feel like that means the marketing deals that these companies have are deteriorating to the point where they're not seeing returns on those investments. So what does that mean for next gen? I have no clue.
I don't have a goddamn clue.
Let's move on from first party to third parties, because Microsoft is the de facto third party showing at E3 this year. Because obviously the only other platform holder there is Nintendo. So the third parties we see on that will be quirky and unique, but Microsoft will be showing the big guns. Do you think there's going to be anything cool and exciting shown third party wise from Microsoft? Are you looking forward to anything? We're probably going to see Cyberpunk again.
Yeah.
Do you think we're going to see that rumored From Software game that is being worked in collaboration with one George R.R. Martin?
No, listen. No, maybe we'll see it. You get the leaks right before E3. It's like it's maybe mentioned. You get we already got the weird name, the weird From Software, like with the sword? Was that what it was? Just the weird, it faded up and it faded back to black.
About the thing for Sekiro like 2 years ago?
Well, that was for Sekiro. Okay.
Yeah, the Shadows Die Twice teaser. Yeah, that was for Sekiro. FromSoft, though, I do think it's time for them to show a new game, because they did just put out Sekiro. We don't know what else they're working on. We've heard, I don't know, I think they're a 2-team studio at least. They were working on Bloodborne at the same time they were working on Dark Souls 3. Bloodborne was 2015, Dark Souls 3 was 2016, now Sekiro was 2019. And they just did DLC for Dark Souls up until 2017, and they were just like quiet for 2 years, and then they put a game out. So I think they could pretty quickly show a new game that could potentially even come out this year or early 2020.
This year, it's next year, man. There's this year.
I mean, you think that
it's not feasible.
The Bloodborne team stopped. They finished working on that game. They had like a team working on, or like a crew doing DLC stuff up until 2016, but that was 3 years for Sekiro. What was the Dark Souls 3 team doing in that time?
Okay. So maybe it is feasible.
And they've made a reputation of putting out a really high quality product that sells a stable amount. So I think it would make sense for them to put out a new game. They have no trouble finding a publisher to give them money to work on a project, especially if it's, as rumored, Bandai Namco, because they've done the whole Dark Souls trilogy through them.
I mean, you're hoping for that From Software game. I know that.
Dude, FromSoft fucking rules, dude.
Yeah, dude.
Also, I just can't think of like what else is interesting, which is a cool place to be because it means I'm more easily surprised. But at the same time, I don't have anything really like I'm looking forward to and I'm hyped about from like third parties in general this year. Maybe the most I would say is Star Wars. Which, like I said, we might see more Star Wars at Microsoft because we got that from Anthem also. Microsoft also is potentially going to show or talk about, more likely talk about, new hardware.
Yay.
Because we got Scorpio talked about a year before they put out the One X. It's the most powerful console ever with the vapor chamber and the 4K.
Oh, God.
And now that we've actually seen that video from the Wall Street Journal about the PS5 and how fast it loads stuff and its crazy SSD technology, I feel like it's time for Microsoft to be like, yo, bitch, we got this too. Not that it's going to be any more compelling. It's hardware, I think, is not that interesting, but it does set the stage for what you imagine third parties are working on in the future and the loading speeds and that kind of thing. Think about playing God of War and trying to wrestle with the fast travel system in that game and how slow it took.
Ugh.
And obviously, you know, good gaming PCs have had access to the M.2, is that what that's called?
Super fast flash storage. Yeah.
Super fast flash, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
But just load times in general, having the faster load times, it just means bigger worlds, less insane tricks and ways to get around how badly some of these older consoles, you know, the PS4 and the Xbox One are getting pretty old.
Yeah.
Are loading these large environments. No one, like, you can't walk into a goddamn single building in Spider-Man. Fucking bullshit.
That's
I'll tell you
absurd.
right now. Do you think Microsoft's going to buy any new studios?
I mean, didn't they just announce like 2 or 3 acquisitions not that long ago?
I believe their last announced acquisitions were in December.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
I think that's when they got Obsidian and in Exile. Both those studios being known for their like old school RPG roots and like Baldur's Gate kind of vibes.
they can't come out to E3 and try to get people hyped up on the fact that they've acquired more studios. Like, we get it. You're trying. Now show us the goods. Show us the fucking goods, though. You can't do it again.
I just said they're showing 14 Xbox Studios games.
Good. Show us those goods. I don't want to hear about more studios. I don't care.
I think they can do both. I think if they say, hey, we got 14 games and also we bought these 2 new studios, and that means like next year we're also going to be showing more games. Like, I think you can keep that ball rolling if Microsoft is still in the spending mood.
Yeah, fair.
Also, everyone's favorite thing that they're probably going to show is something to do with xCloud, their streaming service.
Way the future.
Pass, what with the Netflix and the data caps and the any device playing the Xbox games. What does that mean? Is that you're buying access to these 30 games? Are you buying access to every game that you own through Xbox Live? Does it work? Do it work good?
Right.
I don't know.
It's interesting.
How are they monetizing it? That's probably the more interesting thing for me, is like, how much are they charging for this? And are people actually going to use it? Is this going to affect the way people developing games are going to try and sell their games to people? And how does that affect me as a consumer who doesn't necessarily want to buy into this method of playing games? Because it's not going to be like a replacement. It's not like the sky is falling. People are still selling games for $60, maybe $70, $80 next generation. But how is it going to affect the way people make these games? Because obviously we saw a huge like detriment to how games were monetized based on the mobile market and all these bullshit mobile tactics being thrown into our $60 games. And nobody likes that, but there's just enough people that are gullible enough to throw away their money that it is beneficial for studios to put that in there.
It'll be interesting to see how that stacks up against, we're going to see Google Stadia Arcadia at E3. I just saw a little announcement about that.
Yeah, they're doing a little mini direct, basically.
Right.
Supposed to be on Thursday. So I don't know what they have to show for it. They showed some like weird demos at their initial announcement at GDC, but like that's GDC, so it makes sense that they want to be talking to developers, but this seems like their way to talk to consumers. And how do they sell that and make it interesting, give us prices, all that kind of crap.
Yeah. Dope. What's next, dude?
Bethesda, but I can't think of a single thing that's interesting from them this year.
Elder Scrolls 6 is too far out.
Well, that's not even till after they put out Starfield, which is also super far out.
Yeah.
The games I know that are coming out this year from them is Doom Eternal and Wolfenstein Youngblood, which Youngblood I might try and play with Andrew. It seems like a fun little co-op thing that could be interesting. Doom Eternal also seems nice. I don't know what platform I'd want to play that on. Probably my PC. but I'm not a mouse and keyboard, so it's like, what's the point? That looks fun. That looks awesome. But for some reason, I couldn't really play more than like an hour of Doom before just like my eyes glazing over and just getting bored.
Yeah.
Like it's overload. It's like there's so much going on, and like it never got the hooks into me.
And it becomes the same thing. It's so repetitive. It's just, all right, big scary thing, cool kill
Video games
shot.
are repetitive. Tell me about your favorite game, and I'll say it's so repetitive, and I'll talk about the same thing you just said. So that's like, that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to be a pedant about it, yeah, they're all repetitive. But it's just like, if it's repetitive and it's not engaging, then it's you failed. It's boring. It's like you're a Dynasty Warriors game. Or who cares?
Risk of Rain, you could say, is repetitive. I think it's pretty repetitive, but it's just so, it's not even engaging. It's just fun.
If you zoom out, okay, it's repetitive. All you're doing is you're getting weapons and killing enemies. Like, okay, but do the enemies all look the same? Are your powers all identical? Are these kill shots the same? Are the maps all look the same? Yeah, it's a big red fucking lava. You're in hell.
I wouldn't even say that the enemies look the same, or even the way you engage them. It's just that I didn't get engaged by it. I don't need to talk shit about the game just because I didn't like it.
I also was not engaged by it because I thought it was boring and repetitive, though I see the value for people who want to just fuck shit up.
Also, that soundtrack and that cool live performance they did at the Game Awards.
Yeah, that shit hyped me up, seeing that guy with Periphery Drummer being a goober up there.
Yeah, just goobing it up with his little, he's like, I've never had this few toms. Sorry, that got me. Next up, we got Devolver Digital and their weird little thing, their bad jokes throwing out there. Whatever. PC Gaming also has a show the next morning, which I'm not going to watch, but I'll make sure and check the highlights afterwards to see if anything cool was announced. Then, oh fuck, I think I forgot one actually. Yeah, I forgot one. Ubisoft has a conference. And I actually really like watching Ubisoft's conferences. They're so classic to me. They give me old school-ish E3 vibes, but without all the boring like slideshows of like, pie charts and stuff. It's just really just a bunch of French people earnestly stoked about their games, talking about their games for like little bespoke 5 or 10 minute segments, and then getting shuffled off and going on to the next one. Like I'm super into that. We'll start off with Just Dance, have a cool little dance routine. I'm like, whatever, I don't want this game, but this is like kind of like a fun concert that you're watching on TV. It's like watching America's Got Talent, it's like, I don't give a shit, but it's fun.
I appreciate the positivity because I see it. I'm like, all right, get to the fucking, I want the wow factor, what's going to get me off my seat.
You're such a jilted old man.
Yeah.
You gotta have some fun, dude. Lighten up, smoke a doobie and just watch Ubisoft's press conference.
Oh, dude. That's
Light
so
up
funny.
a fat J.
Dude.
And just enjoy some Frenchmen talk about what they're stoked about,
Just freaking chuff one of them darts, one of them silly darts, and just
have yourself a jazz cigarette.
A jazz cigarette. That's funny. I like it. I don't know what could Ubisoft bring though. That like, are we gonna get like the next Assassin's Creed announced? Like,
well, no. There's gonna be Watch Dogs. It'll be in London. Some info leaked today about something about playing as any NPC in the game or something. I don't know.
It's not an NPC if you're playing as the NPC.
Well, they'll probably make some like funny joke about that. It's like they'll take NPC and like scribble up the end.
Right.
All playable characters. Wow. Yeah, no Assassin's Creed this year. That's supposed to be next year. They have that new Ghost Recon game. That's like a sequel to Wildlands, kind of, but like, whatever. It's not really spoken to me. We could potentially get a Splinter Cell teaser, maybe, which I guess people would be excited about, but at the same time, I don't really care. I played a demo on the GameCube, and that's like my only experience with Splinter Cell. But people
I played a demo 20 years ago.
Hey man, it was only like 17 years ago. All right, get your facts straight.
Dude, we're old. We're old.
You're old. I'm young. I'm older than you, but I'm also young.
You got a better hairline than me.
There was also another leaked game from Ubisoft, because of course there is. That's like a weird multiplayer roller derby sports ball game.
Sports bat ball.
So we'll probably see that. That'll be probably on Switch because it looks cartoony. It looks like, every other Fortnite game there is. The
Yeah.
indie games that they all look like Fortnite. Very funny. Dauntless looks like Fortnite. So dumb. But I don't know. They already said that they're not doing that weird boat game this year. Like, thank God. When I first saw that, I was like, man, this is not a good idea. You're doing a purely multiplayer where you're just a boat. No, that's not going to work. Sorry, buds. Make it like every other open world game that you make and we'll talk.
Yeah.
But there's a possibility that we'll get some weird sort of Nintendo partnership where they're working with Nintendo's IP to do something interesting and unique, which I'd be fine with. I've thought that their previous sort of relationship with Nintendo has yielded some good results. I really liked Mario plus Rabbids. I don't know if I know you played it and then you played it again and you got did you get further in that game?
I don't remember how far I got, but it was interesting. Yeah, it's an interesting little, Babby's first turn-based strategy game.
Yeah, really unexpected.
Yeah.
And then
Give me more of
Starlink,
that.
I bought and haven't played yet, but being able to play as Star Fox is cool and like probably the only reason that game is interesting.
I have to say, going back to the Mario Rabbids thing, I love the idea, like just the philosophy behind designing these games is you can have Mario, but he can't jump. He has to do something different. Like, sell us on why, like, what can you do with our properties that we couldn't just do or wouldn't just do? It's
Right.
and it's giving us something new and unique and exciting. And so just that design philosophy, it's like, I'm all for that partnership if they can take another IP and do something interesting like that.
Right. And that's sort of been Nintendo's philosophy with all of their little spin-off games that they've let other studios work on. Like, you look at Intelligent Systems making Paper Mario, you look at Square-Enix making Mario RPG. I mean, those games you can jump in, but that's not the gameplay focus.
Right.
And I feel like if anything, they learned from Square-Enix to be like, man, isometric jumping is a nightmare and nobody likes that part of the game. But they made it interesting in making it do that first strike into combat in Paper Mario. And that's been like one of the things that I really love about that series, separating it from other RPGs.
Yeah.
So I wonder what is next from that friendship. If Nintendo's like, hey, take F-Zero and do something interesting with it. That'd be awesome because everyone says they want an F-Zero racing game, but like, I don't want that. There are millions of indie games that can scratch that itch. And they don't sell well. So it's not like putting a F-Zero title is going to make it magically sell well. Captain Falcon is a meme and a character because of Smash Bros. And they've not made money. They haven't capitalized on that. And they really ought to.
People who are clamoring for it not that they don't realize, but they don't understand, like, Captain Falcon is a meme and F-Zero games weren't really A, good, and B, popular, and that he is just a character because of Smash Bros, but it's sort of it's tricked people into saying they want this game. Because look at, like, what was the game that launched with Switch? The racing game was literally just a F-Zero.
Yeah, that was Fast RMX.
Fast RMX. And that had come out on Wii U prior, hadn't it?
Yeah, like it was an upgraded version from the fast racing game on Wii U. And there was also one on Wii.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and that developer made Iridian back on the Game Boy Advance.
I gotta say, was telling you earlier, but I'm finally cataloging all the things in my garage, which I had started a while ago, but I finally got through like the bulk of just the games. I still have all the ephemera and the figures and the books and all the other things to get rid of, but I've just been cataloging and saying, what am I gonna sell these for? Iridian 2, that's like a $25 game. I was shocked. Iridian 1, not worth shit, but I'm keeping Iridian 1. I have memories with that game.
What do you mean, Iridian 3D?
Iridian 3D.
What a great naming convention.
Oh, man.
Next up, it's just Square Nintendo.
Okay, all right.
Square, we know, they showed that Final Fantasy VII remake trailer.
Finally, where did that come from? That was announced so long ago, and then it was, episodic, and then it was gone, and then it was,
Well, they had it, they're using, CyberConnect 2 was developing it initially, which they make some like Naruto games. And then they changed their mind and made it first party. And then they changed their mind and changed the engine to be Unreal Engine 4. And now this is the first time we've seen it on that engine. So it looks pretty different if you actually, look at it closely, look at it side by side.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wonder, it seems like they're still going for episodic. What does that mean? I mean, I don't know if they actually use the word, I don't think they use the term episodic, but it's going to be a separated release.
That hasn't worked.
disc by disc, basically. Also, yeah, it's never worked, and they have 2 properties that they've tried doing it with that they know it hasn't worked with. They do Life is Strange, and they did freaking Hitman, but then they sold Hitman, and the studio that made it, they just gave it up. They're like, we're done with this. Be gone. And now let's do it with our own Final Fantasy series.
Wasn't the Final Fantasy boy band game episodic, or was the DLC episodic, and they had to fix the original game essentially by releasing...
Yeah, they put it out. They had a big fix. They had a roadmap, with 3 things of DLC, which they canceled 2 of them. It's like they keep being like, okay, we've got this great idea, guys. We tried it before and it failed, but this time, this is the one.
This has got to work. Trust us.
So who knows? Maybe we'll get a first episode this year, and
That's
then
so
the other 2
funny.
episodes never come out.
That reminds me of my place of business. Hey, listen, I know you don't trust us. We treat you like shit. We pay you like shit. But listen, this time, it's going to work. In another 2 years, imagine where you'll be. I'm like, that's what you said 2 years ago, and look where I'm at now.
Yeah, so I don't have the wildest, expectations or...
Fool me once, shame on me. What's the Michael Scott bit where he's trying to quote that? You wouldn't know because you don't watch The Office, you son of a gun.
I just know the George Bush one where it's fool me twice, can't fool me again.
Yeah, that's good too.
Other thing we know from Square-Enix is Avengers will be there.
Yeah, Crystal Dynamic game.
Yep.
Oh, I want the world from this game, but I was just telling my buddy, I'm expecting some shitty online game.
Yep.
Like it's gonna be
Which
awful.
that's already been confirmed. It's
Wait, what?
basically Yeah, it's an online game.
God damn it.
It's like Destiny, probably. The way they talk about it, like co-op multiplayer.
If it's like Destiny and it's good, I'm all about that. But it's gonna be like
Well, yeah, no shit. But will it be good?
DCU Online.
No, yeah, it's not going to be like an MMO.
I don't know, man. I don't know about the MMO,
It won't be an MMO. It'll be, you and 3 buddies doing an instance battle over and over again, trying to get your sick loot for Iron Man.
Can you give me Borderlands but with the Avengers? Because I'd fuck with that.
I just don't trust Crystal Dynamics to give you a diverse range of characters to play as. Like, what's the point of playing an Avengers game? You got to think about like what people want from that. Are they it's not gonna be tied into the movies. Spider-Man wasn't tied into the movies. So like what Avengers will there be? You're not gonna play as Hulk. You're not gonna play as Thor. You're gonna be like what, Hawkeye and Black Widow?
Oh,
Just all the dinky Avengers that nobody fucking likes.
You're gonna be Iron Man and War Machine and Ironheart and you're just
Iron Maiden.
Iron Maiden. Very different. Very different.
Iron Spider. Just throw the word Iron in there. Iron America. Iron Soldier.
It's gonna be the same character with jets, and that's gonna be
Winter Irons.
Oh my goodness. I have again no hopes for this game.
Well, yeah, they haven't shown anything, so it's completely unknown.
But wait, there's more. Even though you knew that. Now get ready for this fucking game we're gonna ruin.
I mean, I feel like what is it competing with in the superhero video game space? Is it Marvel's Ultimate Alliance?
Oh, I hope that game is good. I need that game to be good, man.
I'm sure it'll be fine for what it is. I don't know if I'm interested in it because I've not been interested in those Diablo-like games before.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I could be swayed. That's a multiplayer kind of game. If I got 2 friends playing, they're like, dude, get it. We'll play together. And if we play it one time, that's a $60 purchase well spent,
Yeah.
Because I am fickle and I like to play games with my boys.
Let's mash some buttons, drink some brewskis, make a night of it.
Yeah. I'm actually for that.
Yeah.
So the best for last, maybe Tuesday morning, Nintendo Switch Direct. Probably
go!
Switch.
Fucking Nintendo. Okay, listen. We finally have to see Animal Crossing, right?
Yeah.
Finally!
Yeah.
I was just talking to Sarah about this last freaking night. She was like, I wonder, everyone talks about Animal Crossing. All my friends play Animal Crossing. And I'm like, because it's the greatest fucking thing that's ever been invented, and I can't believe I waited 20 years to play it.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Actually, I whipped out New Leaf last week and was checking out my town, seeing what was going on.
Hella weeds, huh?
I didn't actually see any weeds. Seemed like I think they've been taking care of it for me ever since that camper update. I haven't played it since then. It's been like years. All my town folk were like, "Oh my god, you finally came back!"
Mayor, where have you been? We elected a new stranger got off the bus last week, and now he's the mayor.
It's another clown. We got more clowns here.
Oh,
for
the
you.
clowns. Yeah. Oh, the clown, dude. What was his name?
I don't remember. I think it's like some French name, like Pierre. He's like a French clown. It's
so
like, oh
shitty.
my God. If you could make it worse, that's the one way you make it worse.
Well, he could be. No, never mind. That's crossing a line. Anyway, Animal Crossing. Okay.
If it's just Animal Crossing, I'll probably be okay with that.
Again, we've talked about this. I just want these quality of life improvements. Just don't change anything about the game. Just make the menus better and make the grind a little better for those of us who like cater the game to two audiences.
Make it a little bit easier to visit your friends' towns.
That too. I want better integration. I want to actually,
I want some 4-player mini games where you all go to the island together and hunt bugs, and you race. And you each get little bell rewards based on how well you do.
That'd be infuriating. Can you imagine just like, oh, we're trying to catch a shit ton of bugs, and next thing you know, I just run over and scare away your fucking beetle? Dude, that'd be such bullshit,
dude. Or I hit you with the net, and you get, or I pratfall you. You know, I throw the little exclamation point on the ground. You fall into a hole, and you're like, oh. Rossetti comes and yells at you, dude. Fucking Animal Crossing.
There's so much potential there, but they talk about resting on their laurels. They're just like, how do we make this game kind of more frustrating and kind of easier in some ways and make the graphics better and just sell the same game for 20 years? And it's like, the potential, man.
Yeah, but feed it directly into my veins, you know what I'm saying? HD Animal Crossing.
This is going to be Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival Designer. It's going to be just the greatest matchup or mashup in Animal Crossing history.
Can you imagine?
The Amiibo
Can you
designer.
imagine, though?
That'd
be super funny.
Awful.
So we're both stoked for Animal Crossing.
Yeah, 100%. What if we don't get it? What if they're just like, I hope you look forward to hearing more about Animal Crossing in our next Direct?
I mean, it's possible.
Oh, that'd be so shitty. It's June.
It is June.
We're getting Fire Emblem
like
for sure, right?
It makes sense that it's this year. Yeah, that's like this month.
Around
that's
the
end of
corner.
this month.
Wait, is it June, really?
I think so. Maybe it's July. Yeah, it's July.
So my question though is I knew it was the summer, but
Mario
is
Maker's this month.
Okay. So they're going to show us more about that? Or are they just going to be like, hey, these things exist and they're coming, so look forward to this, but they're going to show us things that are further off?
They showed us a lot in the last Direct. I think they might show like one more final story trailer thing to be like, oh, we're excited. This is like some untold thing. But, beyond that, I don't think it's going to be too much. Same with like Mario Maker. Like they might reveal, check it out in like 4 months. You can play Super Mario Bros. 2 levels, that kind of thing. I don't see a huge sort of emphasis on those two games because they're so close. But they have to talk about them because E3 is huge marketing for them. Luigi's Mansion. I'm stoked for that game. I want to play some Louie guy. Sucking up some ghosts.
Still haven't really experienced much of that game. A little bit, but I feel like I don't think this is for me.
That's totally fair. And then the only other like 2 Nintendo games that I have got written down here is Town from Game Freak. It's that kind of quaint little RPG. Like I said last year, I'm not super stoked on it. Like it doesn't look very appealing visually. Yeah. And I haven't seen enough from gameplay to be like, oh yeah, that's a interesting new take on turn-based battle.
Leaf is going to just be appalled, Nick. Unacceptable.
That's totally fine. That's fine. Also, Astral Chain looks super tight.
Yeah, okay. We talked about this a few episodes ago.
Everything from the design choices to the music to the gameplay, it all looks like something I want to play.
Are we going to get this weird Star Fox racing game that was rumored?
I was going to say that, Retro was working on a game for a long time before they put themselves on to making a Metroid Prime 4.
Are we getting Metroid? Anything?
Maybe. I mean, that's another possibility. Is like, do we get any announcements for ports or remakes at this Direct?
We have to get.
Is that the kind of focus that they want to put on that? Yeah, but what kind of port? Because there's different iterations, there's different tiers of them.
Yeah.
We get like the 360 ports from THQ Nordic that are games that came out 10 years ago, but nobody that owns a Nintendo console ever played them. So it's like a cool opportunity for them to focus on that. Or we get the ports of just old games, or we get like remasters. That's like a higher tier above that. Or we get like any GameCube remasters, Sunshine HD, baby.
Just give me Wind Waker again. Give me Wind Waker, dude. I I just want Wind Waker again.
Are we going to see more Link's Awakening?
When does that come out? Did that even have a date? It was just a year.
2019.
Yeah.
Just a year.
Okay.
Same with Luigi's Mansion and Animal Crossing and Town.
Shit. So,
I mean, if it's just a year, it can get pushed.
yeah.
I don't think Link's Awakening will. That's like too small of a game, and it looks so like the assets look so good that I don't know if we're gonna. It'll look better when it actually comes out, and it'll sound much better, hopefully.
Yeah.
But it's such a small sort of experience, unless they actually make it. Hey, here's Link's Awakening and also Oracle of Ages and Seasons.
Well, I'm hoping, if I'm being realistic, I want a lot of the old ports, like give me Wind Waker again, right? I wish we would get a proper Ocarina remake. Like, I want to experience that game and see what it's really about, but it's really hard to do on the 64, and it's even harder on the 3DS for many reasons. I wouldn't mind just like, give me a real ground up rebuild of fucking Ocarina and convince me this game is what people remember it to be. Because there's no way I can experience that and appreciate that 20 some odd years later. You know, I can't. 20 years? Was that 99? 97.
Ocarina was 98.
I'll get there eventually. It was close enough.
Price is Right rules.
Yeah.
You lost.
Shit.
Both times.
Fuck. I don't know, man. I just want Virtual Console. Whatever that looks like. Give me GameCube. Give me some Super Nintendo. Like, just give me a Game Boy. Like you said, just some fucking Game Boy games. It's so easy.
Service stuff then you think might make an appearance, or you hope to make an appearance at E3?
I hope.
Like, say that E3 for Nintendo is 25 minutes. It's pretty long for them, but that seems pretty safe for a Nintendo E3. How much time do you want them talking about, oh, here's what's coming to the Nintendo Switch online service? With the little slide, and it's like, oh my god, it's a boy holding a Super Nintendo controller that slides onto the side of the Switch. He's playing F-Zero, finally.
God.
You know?
90 seconds. 25 minutes, that's like 3 games and yeah, a slideshow reel.
I mean, last year, they spent like 10 minutes talking about patch notes, basically, for Smash Bros. It's the most like appalling minutia.
We're not going to get any Smash Bros, right? We're going to wait for...
Smash DLC will probably be a character. There'll probably be a character revealed. I would imagine.
You don't think they're going to do just its own direct in a couple of weeks or whatever?
I don't know. Have they really done that before, where they do a direct closely after? I know they do ones that are like for smaller stuff before, like they did Mario Maker, they did Pokemon. That's not smaller stuff, but it's like stuff that deserves its own thing. But does like a Smash character reveal deserve its own direct?
Maybe the character reveal will be there, but we won't get any information outside of it. Nintendo always disappoints with E3, and they do their own thing outside of that.
Oh yeah, we'll get like the equivalent of the Joker reveal from Game Awards.
Yeah,
which is pretty strange to think that it's been 6 months and we've only had one character announced out of the 5 that are supposed to come out before February of next year.
Holy shit! Maybe we'll get 2 at a time.
It's gonna have to be.
Yeah, well, or we're just gonna go in every month for the rest of the fucking year. That'd be cool.
So we're gonna get Geno and Banjo-Kazooie announced this E3.
Yeah, pipe dream, dude. It's never gonna happen.
Hey man, set your standards high. Shoot for the stars. You'll
man.
Whatever. Sorry.
Jesus Christ. Shoot for the stars. Is that the saying?
What's the Toy Story quote? Reach for the sky.
Reach for the stars. Not shoot for the stars.
Yeah. Okay.
There's a snake in my boot.
Someone poised the watering hole.
Toy Story 4 looks like an abomination, I gotta say.
Yes. 2 things I wrote down were unannounced sequel, unannounced new IP. So sequel territory, I was thinking, Donkey Kong, Pikmin, Paper Mario.
No, fuck Paper. If they don't even get me going. Don't get my hopes up. Don't string me along just to break my heart again.
I mean, if it would be a new Paper Mario, it would just be like what they've done the last few Paper Marios. But I'm just saying that it's a possibility that new sequels can be announced at an E3, especially with how fucking stacked that February Direct was this year. Was it February or March? That Direct was amazing with announcements.
It's hort.
Oh, toit.
Again, E3 is one of those things where I don't really have expectations. I don't really have any excitement. It's just, I know when I get there, I want something crazy to happen. I want to like hop in the group chat and be like, holy fuck, did you see that? But I don't anticipate that. I don't I'm just like, all right, E3's here. I do got to say, people for years have been lambasting the E3s and the PAXs of the world. These trade shows don't matter. It's all just, it's in this day and age. Well, guess what? It does matter because it's a place for everyone to congregate. It's an event. All eyes are on it. Now they're opening up to the public and making it more of a sort of convention and not just about, look at this exciting stuff. So I still think E3 has a fucking place in the industry and it's not going anywhere. Because like I said, all eyes are on it. We're all sitting here talking about what's going to happen. What are they going to announce? Because, they don't need E3 to announce shit. It's the current year. They don't need it. But they do it because it is an event. So you get the Colin Moriarty's of the world, whatever, fucking douchebags who just want to lambaste it and say it's, what the fuck's the point? I don't care. Good for you. A lot of people do. It's fun. It's something for us to all talk about and look to, and in a world that's always kicking us down, Nick. In a post Gamergate world, okay, we need this.
We need some hope. It's what rebellions need. Rise up, gamers. If anything, I think the only real good criticism about E3 is just the state that the ESA is in general. But that's been the case for as long as it's been around. Just a weird lobbying group that runs it, and they are incompetent at doing that, and they are so close-minded into thinking that they won't let anyone else run it for them. So even though the people behind PAX have offered to run E3 for them and make it a better consumer-facing show, they're like, nah, we'll do it. We'll just do it badly. So I think that's a fair thing. But as far as it being relevant to consumers, it's super relevant. I think that the competition breeds creativity and it makes for the best product on our end. So it's nice to see what Microsoft has in relation to what Nintendo has and see maybe those two companies team up. Are we going to see anything Microsoft related on Nintendo's Direct? Are we going to see anything Nintendo related on Microsoft's presentation? It's happened. We've seen the Nintendo Switch logo during a Minecraft presentation at Microsoft. We now have Cuphead on Switch. These things are possible. But it's still just really interesting to have this all sort of congregate into a week, and it has history and it's exciting and still entertaining. So yeah, it's still a fun thing.
Let Jeff Keighley run E3, okay?
He does do a lot of E3 stuff. Judges Week is all him. He does the YouTube the YouTube live stuff from E3, even though that's weird now because YouTube is closing their YouTube gaming, whatever that was. I don't even know. It's just a name. There's still gonna be game stuff on YouTube and they're still streaming. So I don't know.
That was a big failed attempt at trying to compete with Twitch.
Yeah, Google's a weird company. Also, I think that there's a possibility they're trying not to compete with themselves with Stadia and keep the marketing and branding concise. That might have something to do with it. But yeah, that's E3. And that is a fucking week away, dude.
So how are we going to do the post E3 coverage? Because it goes through the whole week. So it's going to be 2 weeks before we wrap around back on E3.
Or we could record Tuesday morning after Nintendo if you're home.
Tuesday morning probably wouldn't fly, but we could do Tuesday night and either release late on, Wednesday or whatever. We'll feel it out.
Wednesday or Thursday, we'll feel it out.
Well, we'll see what happens. All right.
Yeah, I know I'm going to be up for a while because Nintendo's show doesn't start till 9, so I won't be asleep till 10. Just got to figure it out. See if I can be up.
We'll make it happen. I got to say, we've been a little inconsistent. It's partly, both of our schedules are all over the place and it gets harder to sync up. And our goal is to make sure we're consistent every week. We haven't missed more than a week, right? In between pods.
It's been a couple weeks since our last podcast.
2 weeks? We missed 2 weeks?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Well, we'll try not to go any longer than that. We're going to try to keep up with things, but, gets a little crazy sometimes. So we will see. But Constant Crusade, you know where to find us. I gave you the spiel. If you're listening this far, you know where we're at. Hit us up. Hit our line. Send us an email, an angry email. Leaf, I'm looking at you.
Give us your predictions and we'll laugh about them when we record our next podcast.
See who is the most prescient amongst us. Amongst? Fuck you, whatever. I said it wrong. I don't care.
Mother 3 at E3 2019.
As soon as Reggie leaves, we're getting it.
He was the only person holding it back.
All right, Constant Crusade. Party.